can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in. Let's get right to it. So everyone's waiting for Iran's response to Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal. As of yet, no response has come in, or formally, Iran has not formally responded to Donald Trump's latest ceasefire and peace proposal. While U.S. officials, though, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stated they expect a response today, Iranian officials have indicated the proposal remains under review. Okay, so despite the ongoing diplomatic efforts, the situation does remain highly volatile. Just yesterday, shots were exchanged between the two nations. CENTCOM says that they struck a couple of oil ports, on the coast of Iran. Iran says that they fired ballistic missiles at 3 warships, and all 3 or a couple were hit or struck by these missiles. There's no way to verify any of this because, as it should well be known, the area is volatile, and getting information out of there that is not biased or from one of the state medias, either Fox News or Tazin News in Iran, the fog of war is all over the place. We can't see anything. We can't really determine what's going on. But the fact of the matter is there has been some firing. There's a ceasefire supposed to be in place. Why are they shooting missiles? You ask yourself this. And also, being that it's a ceasefire, it doesn't make any sense for Donald Trump to keep egging these people on. Every other sentence is, oh, we killed them and we did this to him, we did that to him, while trying to ask for a ceasefire and peace proposal. Donald Trump he gives you a headache. But anyway, so nominal ceasefire does exist. Where anyway, the Iranian foreign minister spokesperson did say or describe the current situation as a nominal ceasefire, suggesting that while the April 8th truce is not officially dead, it is extremely fragile. Military confrontations, again, both sides or both nations did exchange fire in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. Central Command reported intercepting unprovoked Iranian attacks on Navy destroyers, while Iran accused the U.S. of violating the truce by targeting an oil tanker and civilian areas. Trump's ultimatum, Donald Trump Trump maintains that the ceasefire is still in effect, all right, whatever that means, referring to U.S. retaliatory strikes as a love tap, but warned that Tehran better sign their agreement fast or face more severe military action. I don't know if this is more blustering or boasting or just, bluffing. What we've learned here at Tapped is that Donald Trump says a lot of things to affect the market. He says, oh, don't worry, there'll be peace soon. And he says that, though, to manipulate the market. Why he does this, and he does it often, shouldn't be a guess to anyone. We think that they are benefiting, illegally, or for profiting on, the stock market by saying one thing in terms of, progress being made and the strait will be open and oil will flow again soon, when the truth of the matter is none of that is happening. So we think that he does that to make the market, to make it move, to make it do some things, because we're pretty sure they all invest in the stock market and they all have insider trading and they all benefit from it. One thing about the stock market that a lot of Americans don't understand is that the majority of us are not involved in that. It doesn't benefit any of us. It benefits those who invest or the super rich. So why the stock market is such a concern to Donald Trump should be obvious, because again, it does not affect any of us in terms of paying our bills, or handling our responsibilities here in this country. And we all know we can use a little help, right? But he said that the retaliatory strikes were just a love tap, but he did warn that Tehran better sign their agreement fast or face more severe military action. Diplomatic sticking points. Iran continues to demand the lifting of sanctions and the release of frozen assets, as well as a new security mechanism for the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Yeah, there's a huge gap in between what these two countries actually want or what they will get as a result of these demands. But yeah, there's there's no way, no how that we here at TAP don't think that an agreement will be reached because for one, United States demands are too just they don't make sense. They're too much. And what we mean by that is, the United States are asking for things that they know very well Iran is not going to grant them or give them, not at all. Not at all. And by the same token, we know that Iran's demands to the U.S., and Iran has always been the one said, we'll decide when the war is over. We know their demands to the U.S. will not be met as well. But, so just to give us more context and a greater clarity of what's going on, I have a clip. I'm going to drop this clip in and let us all look at that and get an understanding, a way better understanding than me or anyone else can, give any of you. We'll get this from the horse's mouth. Before we do, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to TAP, the Art of Political Discourse. We appreciate your viewership and your participation, so thank you very much for that. Let's get into this. And this is courtesy of Face the Nation. It is a product of CBS, but Face the Nation.
The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says the U.S. is expecting a response from Iran today on a potential peace proposal. It comes as attacks have escalated in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. has carried out what it says are self-defense strikes on Iran after 3 U.S. warships came under fire. The Iranian military released this video purportedly showing its Navy firing missiles during the exchange. U.S. Central Command says the destroyers were not struck. Both Washington and Tehran blame the other for attacking first. Meanwhile, President Trump praised the military action, but insisted the ceasefire was still intact.
Every missile was knocked down, every drone was knocked down, and the people that shot it are no longer with us. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran.
CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now from the White House. So, Aaron, White House says the ceasefire is...
I have to say that is the most uncouth president I've ever heard speak. He's worse than George Bush, the son. He's way worse. The guy makes no sense whatsoever. He has no tact, no class about himself. I mean, golly. Yeah.
Still intact, but this seems to be the opposite of a ceasefire when you have two navies, adversaries, firing upon each other. I don't know what that's called.
Vlad, good to be with you. Yeah, it's hard to see how this helps the diplomatic route, especially that President Trump is trying to embark on and reaching at least setting the terms of a deal, negotiations with Iran. At this point, Iran is still reviewing that 14-point plan the U.S. sent earlier this week that sets the terms and timeline for peace talks. And as you mentioned, Secretary Rubio said they're expecting a response at some point today, adding that it could help put the two countries, quote, in the serious process of negotiation.
Well, again, here we are dealing with a situation where the United States want to demand something from someone. Again, diplomacy is not their strong suit. It's just not. But they want to demand something from someone, all the while they are haranguing or disparaging these same people that they need to negotiate with. Again, almost every other sentence, oh, we killed them, we destroyed this, we destroyed that, and they better do this, they better do that. We'll bomb them to hell, or we'll bomb them back to the Stone Age. None of that makes sense, or more precisely and to the point, none of that helps the situation. And it's just astounding that no one in the administration have balls enough to say, listen, press, don't say this and don't say that. We want to end this for real, then don't do that. So then if that's the case, or if that's not the case, them actually wanting to have a ceasefire, then by all means do what you're doing. Because if you have some type of plot or plan in effect, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it's one or the other. It's one or the other. Can't be both. Can't serve both.
And as you heard earlier, President Trump was almost boastful of the strikes, touting how they sunk Iranian drones and missiles. But in part, maybe why he believes it does not break the ceasefire, he also downplayed the severity of it all, saying that the U.S. Apache helicopters that used missiles to take out those Iranian small boats was just a, quote, love tap. And it was Iran, quote, trifling with the United States. U.S. Central Command, in their statement about what happened yesterday, also said that they are not looking to escalate. And last night, President Trump also seemed ambivalent on if a deal would actually be reached. We've heard him sound confident without citing any evidence that Iran is close to agreeing to what the U.S. wants. But last night, he told reporters, quote, it could happen any day when talking about the deal. And he also said it might not happen.
Well, here's another thing, though, about this whole war, or whatever you want to call it. Donald Trump and his administration have all said that they won the war, that they defeated Iran. And that does not look like defeat coming out of Iran. It just doesn't. It doesn't look like victory coming from the United States, and you haven't put one boot on the ground. You know, Iran is still firing missiles and drones. The United States is still very reluctant to go into the Strait of Hormuz and drop anchor. You know, so, I mean, what victory are they talking about? How is it possible you can point to victory or even mention victory when we see with our own eyes that Iran continues to fire missiles and drones? And not only that, but there seems to be a fear and or reluctance of the United States Navy and military to go into a country that they've claimed to already defeated. Make it make sense. It just doesn't. You can't even do it, you know. So I don't know. And we don't, again, here at TAP, we don't expect to see a ceasefire or any agreement coming out of Iran, especially being that Donald Trump has gone overboard and very extreme in his demands. I mean, again, if that is or was a defeated nation, then the first thing they would do would be, okay, look, yeah, uncle, they cry uncle. They'll kneel or bend the knee, as Trump has, you know, he's publicly said that's what he wants. So I don't know.
And Aaron, let's talk about those new jobs numbers. New data shows that the U.S. added 115,000 jobs in April. That blows away expectations. What reaction, if any, have we heard from the White House yet?
Yeah, nothing yet from President Trump or the press shop that we have reached out. We have seen the White House Rapid Response account on social media sharing news clips touting the jobs report and the numbers that were mentioned. It is a big win for the White House, at least for April. It surpasses expectations of about 55 to 60,000 jobs that were expected. For that month of April, there was also a revision that added jobs to what was reported back in March, which was already seen as a good month.
And can't wait to find out next month or later in this month that was all doctored. You know, most of the information and data that, you know, the Trump administration puts forth is fake news or doctored news. You know, there's no reason why they can't doctor news like that. But, you know, especially considering that Trump's approval ratings in terms of employment and everything else is down significantly. So it would make sense, again, for the Trump administration to come in and say, hey, jobs are up. You know, we've added 140,000 jobs in a country of over 300 million people, you know, and maybe, you know, half of that country, or you know, a very large proportion, 3/5 of that country, 2/5 of the country don't have jobs. You know, I don't know. I take it all, you know, when Trump, especially Trump, or the Trump administration says something that they've done and they've done it well, they've done it like no one has ever seen before, I tend to not trust it. You know.
For the White House in terms of jobs added, it's welcome news, especially as gas prices are still surging and could potentially cause airfare.
That's the thing I'm saying. Okay, so Wait a minute, you've added all these jobs. This war, we're in the third month of this war. You've added all these jobs. However, gas, grocery, all utility, all bills are still up, you know, and jobs are, you know, jobs are going up. They're not going down. You know, that I don't think it works like that. There's something wrong with what the Trump administration is trying to put before the people as successes or them doing their work. April jobs report. Yeah.
Costs and tickets to rise. It's been something the White House has been struggling with, especially as we approach the 10th week of this war with Iran, and comes as Republicans on Capitol Hill, as well as those working on Republican campaigns across the country for the midterm elections, have been trying to focus more on the president's agenda instead of answering questions about the war with Iran and its rising gas prices.
All right, Aaron Navarro tracking it all from the White House. Thank you so much. For more on the situation in the Middle East, we are now joined by CBS News senior foreign correspondent Holly Williams. Holly, bring us up to speed on what we're hearing from Iran about the latest clashing in the Strait of Hormuz.
Thank you.
Hey there, Adriana and Vlad. Well, as you know, U.S. Central Command said that 3 American destroyers came under attack by Iran as they transited the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. As usual, we're getting a very different version of events from Iran. Iran says it was the U.S. that initiated the exchange of fire and accuses U.S. forces of attacking an Iranian oil tanker. On a separate but related issue, that is a possible peace deal, Iran said yesterday that it had not yet reached a conclusion on a U.S. proposal. And then this morning, we heard from the Iranian foreign minister via social media, who said, quote, every time a diplomatic solution is on the table, the U.S. opts for a reckless military adventure. So what's going on here? It could just be what the Iranians are saying, that they're still thinking about it and they're frustrated by U.S. actions. It could also be, and this is speculation, that Iran is slow-walking negotiations because they believe they have a strategic advantage, because they've been able to paralyze commercial traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, send gas prices soaring, and pile pressure on President Trump to end the conflict. Or it could be that because of this war and deadly strikes on Iranian leadership, the Iranian leadership is now in disarray and unable to make a quick decision.
Now that we think here at TAP is a biased response or remark, especially coming from state media, you know, again, you have to understand how the American government looks at that situation, how intelligence told them that situation is structured over there. There's no way in the world, or there's no way possible that they can destroy that structure. So if you knock off the top guy, even the second guy, there's always someone there to take the place of that guy. It's like a team in a sport. You know, you have people in reserve. You know, so if something happened to a Michael Jordan or a Kobe, they got somebody to fill those shoes to come in and play the game. You know. That's just what it is. So we noticed here at TAP that the United States, the Trump administration especially, started to float that around. You know, they're in disarray. That, you know, they have no leadership. Come on. So now we hear Fox News, we hear CBS News, we hear ABC News, you know, NBC News parroting the same accusation. That, oh, there's no leadership over there. That's probably why they haven't responded. And they all tend to not get it, not understand that Iran has said, we're going to deal with this our way, at our speed, at our pace. When we decide the war is over, that's when we'll decide the war is over. Not when Trump says, you know, we are a sovereign nation. We don't have to jump at your beck and call. We don't, you know. And so the media is starting to act like Trump. I mean, hurry up and answer this. What are you going to do? You know, well, maybe they don't have any leadership. Yeah, it's so typical American media.
Bottom line is, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors in Tehran.
And yet she said that.
The Iranian leadership, the Iranian regime is known for many things. Transparency is not one of them.
And yet
so,
you
Holly,
said that.
in a further sign of the fragility of the ceasefire, the UAE says it has come under attack this morning. What are you learning about that?
Right, so the United Arab Emirates, that's a key American ally here in the Middle East, said that it was again dealing with incoming missile and drone attacks from Iran this morning. I think this gets to a really big question here in the Middle East, which is around some of America's Middle Eastern allies, places like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, and how much pain they are willing and able to continue to take because of this war. Now, they're not friends with Iran. They don't want Iran to have a nuclear program. But quite apart from the loss of life caused to their people by this war, they've also suffered enormous economic damage because of strikes on oil facilities, because of the paralysis.
No, they received those strikes because they supported an unjust war. They supported the United States and Israel in an unjust war, an unprovoked war. You know, again, the reporting of some of these journalists, it speaks volumes, you know.
In the Strait of Hormuz. By one estimate, the cost of repairing and restoring the energy sector here in the Middle East could cost up to $58 billion because of this war.
All right, Holly Williams in Tel Aviv, thank you so much.
All right. So, you know, when we're talking about this type of thing, again, what is Iran going to do? You know, for the most part, no one knows. But if you pay attention to what Iran says, then you have an idea. You know, Iran says, hey, man, you know, we'll deal with this as we see fit. You know, Donald Trump does not run us. Donald Trump did not beat us. You know, most Westerners, you know, especially American reporters and journalists, they jump in and they say everything that's said to them by the Trump administration. They parrot it. None of them actually do their job, you know. And there's a situation that exists where they can't even go and do reporting effectively because Israel may drop a bomb on them. You know, the American Navy may shoot a bomb, you know, and bomb something, you know, so they can't do their jobs. They got to go by what is being told to them by the Trump administration, you know, and it's just that simple. But in any measure, by any means, Iran is going to let you know or not what it intends to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Iran takes its time into Saturday, you know, maybe Sunday, and say, hey, you know what? We don't like the sounds of this. Here, go work on this some more, you know, and I pretty much expect that to occur, to happen. Again, Iran is making it a point that they have not been defeated and that their sovereignty is intact as much as their regime, their government. So the United States, Donald Trump, just going to have to wait to see what Iran has to say about this issue. You know, that's simple. Tell us what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments. Let us know whether or not you agree with how Iran is going about this process, or whether or not you agree with how the United States and specifically Donald Trump is going about this process. Does any of it make any sense? Will this thing end anytime soon? Or do you think that a peace negotiation ceasefire will continue to be in place and it will actually bring about peace? You know, let us know what you know. All right. Let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.